I guess, the athlete that I am, and I'm very big on fundamentals. Whether it be the fundamentals of life or the fundamentals of the sport, you've got to start with the basics in order to excel. And I saw that there was a lot of fundamental skill that was lacked in the play in the younger kids. And so God kept telling me, you got to do this. We got here in August. Of course, the season was starting in October. And I didn't want to do it because we just got here. We hadn't unpacked. Um, but nonetheless, we started the program, and I started it with girls. About a month later, I had one of the young men come to me and say, hey, what about us? What about the guys? And I felt kind of bad because I was like, well, what about you, right? But we had enough kids coming out for the boys, so we had 2 teams that year. And it just kind of grew. Um, it's important for me to know that just based on my background, I didn't have the opportunity growing up for someone to say, hey, this is what you need to do to excel in school. This is what you need to do to possibly get an athletic scholarship. So for me, that's where my passion comes from, is that I want to afford these young boys and girls, young ladies and men, the opportunity to know how to get to the next level, whether it be in life, whether it be in education, or whether it be in athletics.
That's beautiful.
So here we are today.
Oh, you know, you're a role model, and you're speaking exactly to the point that people need to make good choices, and they need to be taught things that maybe they didn't get taught at home. Why Lefford introduced me to you, I think, Right Thinking Foundation has some of the exact same ways to describe what we're trying to do. The very best, Right Thinking Foundation, one of its main purposes is to help fight recidivism and people that are been incarcerated when they get out, to help them succeed. And so many people, they're in prison and they can take all the programs and classes and training that's available, but when they get out, they fail. And why do they fail is what we're trying to understand better. And the best that I've come up with is so many people have made bad choices, and they've realized it. They've had a desire to change. They work hard to change, but then when it's time for them to start all over again, the opportunities are very hard for them to grab hold of. They don't know which way to go. And when you set up in New York, when you were a kid, you didn't know how to get to the opportunities. They just weren't there for you. Having advocates, mentors, role models like you is critical for other people's success, period. And so I just want to quote something here. You've got a quote on your website that is really good. But as for you, be strong and do not give up, for your work will be rewarded. That's 2 Chronicles chapter 15, verse 7. Why did you choose that scripture? But as for you, be strong and not give up, for your work will be rewarded. Why did you choose that to put it right on your website? It's a beautiful scripture.
I can sum it up in one word, and that's perseverance. Without perseverance, we can't excel. We can't move forward in life. There's been many times that, challenges came before me, and they were hard challenges. And there were many days that I wanted to quit. But one thing that I remember growing up is that you don't quit. It doesn't matter how hard things get. You just don't quit. The second thing is, and not to say that things are so great with the program, but I believe that if I quit, who's going to help that next child?
Yeah.
Quitting to me is failing, and I don't believe in failing. And we have to learn to be strong. We have to learn to believe. We have to learn to have confidence. We have to learn to lean on the Lord and allow him to help us grow, because that blessing is right around the corner. If we stop and we give up, today we would not have a professional men's basketball team. Today I would not be speaking to you about how we can help more kids and more young adults. So that's why I chose that particular quote. And the reward for me, over the years, there's one young man that, if I may speak about him, he was one of those children that went in every direction that he shouldn't have been going. And I really had to tighten up on him and show him some tough love and sometimes get upset with him. But today I look at him, and I happened to see his mom in the hospital one day, and she came up to me and she said, "Coach Jay?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." And she came and she just gave me a big hug. She was a mother of, I think, 4 kids, a single mother. And she said, "Thank you very much for what you did for my son," because she didn't know what to do with him. When I look at him today, he has grown up to be a fine young man. He is now teaching other kids as a teacher in school, coaching them also to be fine young men. And for me, that's the reward, is to pay it forward, to give back and then to pay it forward. So that's why I picked that verse, Steve.
That's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Great works are done not by strength, but perseverance. That's also on your website. And I'd like you to speak to that. I'm going to read it again, and I want you to know that I researched that quote myself after I read it on your website because I've heard it before. Great works are done not by strength, but by perseverance. You touched on it when you were speaking about the first quote, but how about that quote?
That quote is, "You can't succeed in anything in life unless you strive for perfection and you have the ability to continue to move forward. Without faith, there is not great works." Right?
Yeah. You know,
I mean, that's just, for me, that's what it is. Perseverance and faith. You have to have the faith in order to persevere through the struggles that we may be going through. Great works cannot be reached without having faith in the Lord. Can't be reached without having faith in mankind in general. And it can't be reached without having faith within yourself and believing in yourself.
perseverance, I look up the definition of perseverance because I want everybody to know this. When I talked to you the other night and introduced myself, I sent you an email and I said, we've got the same middle name. I won't go into the background there, but see, my thing is all about perseverance and not quitting, not giving up. You know, that's the slogan of Right Thinking. You know, don't quit, plan ahead, it'll get better. And so, you know, you're like this kindred spirit that's come into my life, and I'm listening to you, just hearing every word you're saying, and everything you're saying is true. I haven't passed on yet to the listeners enough of what's really going on here. So you had a 24-year career in the military, and you came out and you started a semi-pro basketball league team in Sumter. And I want to give a little history here. When I was in college 40 years ago, the ABA was started, the American Basketball Association. And there was a team in Virginia called the Virginia Squires. And they actually had two home cities, Norfolk and Richmond. And back then, Dr. J was the most famous of all the Virginia Squires, Dr. Julius Erving, one of the greatest basketball players ever. And, we had some great ones. Rick Barry was the sharpshooter that went on to the Warriors, the San Francisco Warriors, I guess, the Golden State Warriors, whatever they call them.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw that you own a franchise in the ABA, and I read a letter from the one of the top people in the ABA welcoming you to the league, I said, well, this is the ABA? I didn't know that it was still in existence. Well, so I did a little history on it, and it moved out. It merged with the NBA years ago. But the ABA now, what's the structure of the ABA that fits into a you're the head of a semi-professional basketball team. What is a semi-professional basketball team in the ABA?
Semi-professional team is just that of course, if you're a complete, full-blown out professional, you're getting paid, okay? Semi-pro, you're not necessarily getting paid, and that really depends on the support and the sponsorship from your community, from the large corporations. So it is parallel to the teams that are overseas that are professional and they do get paid. It is an avenue to go to the G League, which is right below the NBA. And so there's a lot of connection, a lot of opportunities for these young men to pursue their dreams to play basketball, but as a true professional, getting paid just like those who are in the NBA. And that, again, this is just a stepping stone, an opportunity for those to realize their dreams.
So you have feeder levels that get up to the semi-pro level. When, for those of you that are listening and watching this on the live stream on Facebook, you can go. If you're not doing it, you can go to the Right Thinking Foundation Facebook, which would be Right Think Found, and go to video, and you can see the live stream of this show. And during this show, I know that Chuck, the producer, is taking photographs that you sent me. There's many of them of the kids' teams. Oh, I love it that you did. The kids' teams and some of your young adult teams. And I got to tell you one thing. You sent one picture that it was either 8 or 9 young men. And it was, I didn't see the caption on it, but those guys have the most definition in their bodies and their arms. There's one guy up on the upper, looking at it, it's on the right, he's standing, he's on the left.
Side.
His arms, I told my wife when I showed her that picture, they put a bicycle pump in there and pumped his arms up.
I wish I could take credit for that one, but he did that on his own.
Oh my gosh. That young man has like the we got guys at the Norfolk YMCA that when I go in all the time to teach karate, and I joke with these guys that work at the desk. This one guy is building his body beautifully, and his arms are like huge, just like Mr. Universe kind of look. And I'm always asking him, hey, can I touch your arm? Because maybe it'll make me stronger, Yeah, so that's a little levity here. But let's get back to something more important. So what you've done is so important. A lot of people say, okay, so you got all these people out there playing sports, that are at whatever level of the economic spectrum there. So there's so many people that are out there playing sports. You have figured out that is probably the best place. You're going where they're at. You're reaching them where they need to be reached. If they're already out there playing sports, they have an inclination to want to be involved in sports, then you're taking their love of sports and saying, but let's take it further. Let's take the beauty of being a conditioned athlete, just the competition of sports and so forth. But let's apply it to life. Let's get some beautiful life lessons out of this. But what you've done is gone even beyond that level, and you've got people that go through your program that become really, really good people, and they come back and they add back to the program. That's what I'm interested in asking you now is, I know that you've got people that go out and do well through your program, but they later come back to mentor others themselves. Can you talk about that a little?
I sure can. Here's what's crazy, Steve. A lot of the kids that played for me while they were in middle school and high school, I've got probably about 5 of them who I guess wanted some more running, and I don't know what you want to call it, but they came back. I've got 5 more players on my semi-pro team that used to play for me, and they've come back, and it's full circle. And that's what's really sweet, that they enjoyed the program enough while they were younger. They endured the pain that I put them through during practices, and they still came back as adults to play for me as professionals. That, for me, that says a lot. That says a lot that we're trying to do good things, and we are doing good things. They've come back, and now they're mentoring kids in the community. We're very involved in the community right now, helping kids on the south side that don't come from very good homes, if you will, going to the churches and helping them with their health fairs, and just to let people know that we're here, we're in the community. It's not just about playing basketball, but we're going beyond the court. And if I can, I want to share this because, sometimes we have a knack for running from God. Sometimes we hear messages and God wanting us to do certain things, and we run. We try to hide, and we try to duck him. But you know that old saying, you can run but you can't hide?
Yeah,
Well, God,
I'll give you something really quick that you triggered a thought.